Are you totally different when it comes to sex and copulation? Have you judged yourself out of receiving pleasure? Have you judged yourself into receiving pleasure in certain ways and excluded other ways? Would you like to know more about what else is possible with bodies? Would you like to create confidence in the bedroom and beyond? How has your sex life or lack of it affected other areas of your life? Everyone has the potency to be a sexual superhero. Get ready to listen, sense, and play with the sexualness that is you. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, pleasure diva and body whisperer, Milica Jelenic.
Hello, 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 sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome to The Pleasure Zone, where we talk about all things pleasure, bodies, fun, things which titillate me, which may titillate you, which may make things a hell of a lot more fun in your life, my life, the world. You know, it's a good time when things are being titillated, which I just love that word. It's not in the title tonight, but it really should be. Titillating your safe sex and titillating dangerous sex. But it's not. Tonight's title is Safe Sex versus Dangerous Sex. What does that even mean? We're going to dive into that for sure. So just want to let you guys know about a few things that I do offer up in this planet. And one of them is a 21-day program called Sexual Magicism, which is tools and tips for 21 days, tools that actually build on each other. So different tools to be able to utilize your sexual prowess, your sexual vitality, your energy, your sexual drive to create your life. So not just to create your life as in like your business, but to create your life as in also your health, your relationships. It's, you know, all those things about us that we tend to ignore, tapping into those, looking at the things that we've been avoiding asking for the most, especially when it comes to pleasure. 21 days of that, and there will be another program of the Sexual Magicism that will likely be starting in September. I originally thought August, but it's a busy month for me, so it's going to be September of 2019. And it is a program that I have done already twice. So if something that you really like and you want to jump in and get that, there is a way to do that. It will be available on my website, hopefully in the next few weeks. And in the meantime, if you just message me privately through my website at milicajelenic.com, so MILICAJELENIC.com, just send me a message through the mailing system there, and just request access to those files. I will send you a PayPal link that you can pay for them, and then I will send you the files out that you can listen to all of the recordings and watch the videos from the previous 21 days Sexual Magicism, so you'd be able to access both of those. The upcoming one will be slightly different, drawing on a lot of the other tools, but we're going to be adding to that as well. So love to have people and everybody from around the world joining in on this. So I'd love to look at different ways and different cultural aspects of things and how different cultures are experiencing things in a different way as well. So if you'd like to be in on that, that will be coming in September. I will have prices and registration information available again in the next few weeks, along with having the 21-day Sexual Magicism course available on my website for purchase. So just some things to be aware of if you'd like more pleasure outside of the pleasure zone. If you'd also like more pleasure outside of the pleasure zone and you'd like to have chats with me in private, I do online work with people. I talk about things everywhere from health to sex. And so if that's something that you're interested in and you would like to have a private session with me and you'd like to have a little taster first, by all means, give me a shout and you can have a 5-minute taster and see if we are a fit. How fun is that? And some of the other fun things I've got going on too, well, there's always lots of interesting and fun things going on. So one of my targets for the next year is to utilize these 21-day Sexual Magicism classes and to establish a workbook for you guys to make it super easy, and it'll be a super affordable workbook for you guys to have that you can play with at all times, any day, and it doesn't have to be 21 days in a row. It really is just an energy that builds onto itself. You could spread that 21 days out into an entire year and use like the first day for a whole month if you want. So there's different ways to approach it, and it's not stringent on a 21-day thing. I just called it that because people like things in 21s. I don't know, it's magic or something. Oh, and I do think there's more as well. So I can't even remember. If you're looking for fun sex toys, you can find those also linked to the pages on Inspired Choices Network. There are links there that you can jump into and find some pretty fun things. In the U.S., Pure Romance has a lot of really cool new sex toys available for you name it. It's amazing what's available. Some of the stuff isn't available yet in Canada, but I'm very excited about their line for the LGBTQ community with lots of toys that are totally suitable for transsexual play, for if you're transitioning and you'd like to experiment with different toys. There are so many cool new things out there, and those ones are available in the U.S. right now. So you can find that on the pureromance.com/Milica Jelenic to have some fun with that. And in Canada, I think they are coming soon. And let me tell you, there's some in there that I'm just like so excited by that I can't even tell you. But when they do become available, I will be talking about those as well. The whole community of the LGBTQ community certainly has a very interesting range of toys that maybe even if you don't identify in that community, you might find that there are sex toys that have been designed specifically for that community that are very intriguing and fun for you. So just something to consider. So why I'm mentioning sex toys in this one too, and why I'm mentioning my 21-day sexual magicism class is, for one, they're available. They're products that I offer. There are services that I offer as well. But on top of that, they are a huge and amazing way to have safe sex. And when we're talking about safe sex versus dangerous sex, there's a lot of components that I'd like to tap into with the safe sex that isn't just about STDs or STIs. So a lot of people, when they think safe sex, the first thing they think is, well, I'm thinking safe sex has to do with condoms, it has to do with any kind of prophylactics, has to do with anything that would be a barrier to an STD. All things that would prevent that and all things that would prevent pregnancy, that would be considered safe sex. There's a level beyond that as well if we're going to look at things medical or physiological only. So if we're looking at how to prevent health breakdown when it comes to sex, there are a few things you want to do as well. Prevention, for example. So going to your doctor for regular checks is a really good call. And even though I am a holistic health practitioner, I still go to my gynecologist every 3 years to do a check. Why? Because I've had more than one sexual partner in my life, and my more than one sexual partner has had more than one sexual partner in their life. And I have also had a blood transfusion, and I've also been in situations where I could have contracted something that wasn't always safe sex. So as much as safe sex, you can try and go and have the safest sex possible wearing condoms or whatever. And guess what? There's a lot of sexual violence that goes on in the world. And I don't know that I've ever heard of any rapists that, slip a condom on before they go for it. So, for anybody who's gone through sexual abuse or violation of any kind, absolutely be sure that you're looking after your body and make sure that if anything has occurred to your body, if anything's ever happened to your body that was a form of violence, that there was no, for one, there was nothing to protect you from STDs or STIs, or there was tearing, or there was violence in a way that created rips, or anything that was could have created infections. Definitely go and check that out. There are some pretty funny comments in the chat room for those of you who want to have a good laugh. funny and true. And wouldn't it be so funny though if rapists actually had, you know, they're being total assholes by raping, but what if they had the dignity to at least say, excuse me before I rape you. I'm just going to put this raincoat on. So thank you for that comment in the chat room. That thought sometimes goes through my mind, and it is a funny one. And I often wonder, what if they could at least have the dignity to do that? But no. Okay, well, that's a side note, and I can joke about that because in my life that has been one of my experiences. My body has been violated. So I can laugh about that now, but that was a long time ago as well. And it's not that it was time that healed it. It was a lot of self-reflection. It was a lot of healing. It was a lot of therapy. It was a lot of support with friends. It was a lot of people who let me see things in a different way. And it was also me becoming more empowered to get me out of the mindset of being being a victim, right? So when we're talking safe sex, we're talking safe in the safest way, which is being aware. And being aware, for me, is number one key. So I say this, too, because of my past experience, and experiences, I should say, is that when you are aware, it's phenomenal that you can sense. And there was a sense, and there was a part of me that had a sense not to trust the people that I was with when my body was violated, but I ignored it. I denied it, and I ignored it, and I did not acknowledge it. And it took me a long time after that to develop trust in myself again. But at that moment, like right after that fact, I had a massive determination that I would never, ever not have my own back again, that I would never stop listening to myself. And that was a process to begin to listen and to really trust what I know. So that is something that I can tell you from experience. You can rebuild the trust in your knowing, and you can rebuild it to the place where you have awareness so that your safest sex is coming from you being aware. Now, some things that you can be aware of are a variety of things. You can be aware of whether that person who's your lover is going to be kind to you, kind to your body, kind to you afterwards. You can also be aware of whether the person matches the energy of what you're looking for. If you're looking for a one-night stand of fun with somebody who is not going to pass on an STD, and you get the energy that matches what you're looking for, and you get a yes, then choose that. But if you get a no and you're like, but he's so sexy or she's so sexy, I should just say yes. That would be you not following your awareness. Always follow your awareness. Always have your own back. Always have your own front as well when it comes to sex. Have all your angles. Have them all covered. And make sure that you are choosing to be aware. So if something comes up and you notice, well, I don't really feel safe here. This doesn't feel like a good situation. Get out. Walk away. I had a friend tell me after the fact of my body being violated, like 2 years later after that, she thought she gave me some really smart words of wisdom. She said, you should always carry money on you so you can hop in a taxi cab and drive away. Well, mind you, at the time I was not making a lot of money, so I didn't have spare cash. But I do agree that there's some value in knowing that you always have a way out. You can always get out. And now with Uber and credit cards, although I don't really trust Uber either with all the Uber drivers that have been molesting people, have a friend, have a call. If you're in a country that you don't know anybody though, then definitely see if you can get an out some other way, whether it's another resource like jumping in a cab and leaving the situation, or jumping on somewhere where you're going to be public and enough people can see you. So there, you have a way to get out. If that's something that like if you get that gut instinct before they've even tried to have sex with you and you're like, this isn't good, get out, be willing to fight, be willing to be the killer energy if it's required in order to get that person to go away. But the safest sex is you listen to your awareness. So that's what I'm going to leave you with on break. So for all of you listening, you're listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network. And remember that your greatest, safest sex is you listening to your awareness. And we'll add to that after this commercial break. We're going to head to commercial now.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. So if you joined me at the beginning of this show, you might have heard a little conversation. We were talking about safe sex and situations that are maybe not safe, including, bodies being violated. And one of the key things is to use your awareness. Be as aware as you imagine possible, and then 10 times more aware than that, and then 100 times more aware than that. And then allow yourself to even be aware of all the awareness that all the violators and all the molesters have. If you're willing to be aware of everything they're even aware of, you can outwit, outsmart, and outdo them. So, I know, sounds weird. Who wants to be aware of all those people? Well, truly I do right now. Is that something that I would like to be aware of all the rapists and molesters in the world so that I know where they are, know where they're lurking, I know where they're hiding, I know what they're thinking. I want to be aware of all of that. That way I don't have to show up there. Doesn't mean I have to choose it. It means I'm aware of it, and then I can walk away from it, and then I don't have to be part of it. Isn't that a beautiful thing? When you're aware of it, you don't have to choose it. You can just be aware of it, and then you can choose something else. But if you're not even willing to be aware of it, you cannot see it, you cannot notice it, and you cannot choose any different. So awareness, to me, is number one key for safe sex, which includes joyful, happy, kind sex. So what else can we talk about when it comes to safe sex? Safe sex also includes things like penetration levels. I know, well, where did that come from? But some sex can be actually really, it can verge on violent, but it's not violent. So you could be with a very loving and kind partner, and you might be having some extreme play going on. There might be something like, you might have fisting going on. For example, if you're having play and you have something like anal penetration with larger objects or like fisting going on, it can become dangerous at times. If you're if you're being too aggressive, if you're not being gentle, if you're pushing too hard, you can actually, those tissues in there are very, as much as they're strong enough to push out poo, they're also delicate. And they can get scratched, they can get torn and ripped. So that's something to be aware of too, where safe sex is really about having awareness of the other person's body too. Things like penetration levels are, something to note as well, even when it comes to penetrating vaginas as well and penetrating mouths. So shoving things in mouths, whether it's a penis or toys or anything like that, that gagging reflex, it can actually become dangerous. People can choke on them. There can be asphyxiation. Some people asphyxiate because that is something that turns them on. Sometimes asphyxiation can lead to death. So that's something to just note. If their penetration is too extreme, you need to have a conversation about this. You need to have like either a safe word, or you need to have something like tapping out, like in martial arts, you can just tap out, like that's enough. I think, that one to me is a pretty good one, because if you happen to be with anybody who's ever done martial arts, you get used to tapping out for when you're like, that's enough. Instead of going, stop it, you just tap out. So that's an option. But if you do have access to your voice and you can say stop, that's good too. And being in communication with your partner as well, both watching them verbally, watching them physically, to see if the penetration is too deep, too far, too strong. Our bodies, as much as they're super strong, they also have delicate areas, and we need to be aware of those. And those mucus glands, those like super soft, they're actually called invaginated. So our anus, our mouth, and our vagina, they're like invaginated areas. And they have different tissues, skin tissues in there. And those tissues are much softer, and they also have more sensitivity. And that's the beautiful thing about them. And at the same time, it's something that if they aren't lubricated, if they aren't soft enough, if they aren't wet enough, they will tear and rip, and that can cause a lot of issues. So definitely be gentle with that. And so safe sex includes lubrication and awareness of the depth of penetration. So you don't want to go too far, you don't want to go too fast. Dangerous sex can also be incredibly messy. Like, for example, dangerous sex can lead to, for example, anal penetration where it's gone too fast, too hard, too fast, with no pause, with no allowing the bodies to relax into receiving. So too hard, too fast can lead to basically a shitstorm. And that is just dangerous in the fact that, there's poop everywhere. There can be. It can literally shoot out. Dangerous as in feces carry a lot of different things, like diseases, for example, E. coli. So you want to be aware of those. You don't want to pass on the germs from feces to anywhere else. So gentle and slow, cautious, aware penetration can definitely lead to greater, more fun, more long-lasting safe sex. So dangerous sex. So safe sex includes lubrication, guys. And remember, your anus does not lubricate itself. So add lubrication to anything and everything you might be putting in your anus. We did a show a little while ago about stretchers, and so stretchers can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So there are certain sexual acts, well, that's one way to put them. There are certain things that are more like, sorry, what's the word for it? I'll think of the word for it. It's not coming to me right now, but it has to do with the level, different sexual acts that are more extreme. They're not vanilla. So when we're looking at things like BDSM, not getting the word right now, but we'll look at that after. So when you're having different kinds of play, like for example, using stretchers, anal play, toys, maybe you're using chains or ropes, those can lead to some dangerous situations. So knowing how to play with these things, knowing how to play with more of the gray area of sex is really good to get an education in that. So if you're gagging people, if this is a fetish of gagging, then you want to make sure that you're gagging in a way that doesn't kill. If you are doing any rope work at all, you want to make sure that the way that you're tying the person up, or that you are tying somebody up, you want to make sure that you're tying them in a way that isn't cutting off their circulation, that is not harming them. So it's good to you can actually take classes in rope tying. So, and there are some amazing videos on YouTube with the most incredible, beautiful knot work, and you can buy beautiful ropes that are soft rather than rough ropes. There's different qualities of ropes that you can use, and you want to get into something where you have like softer, sweeter ropes, especially to begin with, unless you're really into the rough and hardcore pain. Even easing into that pain, just getting used to the whole rope tying methods, you can use softer ropes for that. And then there are other things where you may be hanging from different things, like whether it's from, let's say, swings, or you might be hanging from different things where you're upside down. So you want to make sure that your body's looked after. If you're hanging upside down for any amount of time, the blood can rush to your head. You can get nauseous. You can, knock out. There's different things that can occur. So you want to, when you're looking at any kind of fetish play or anything that may be in the extreme area that can appear dangerous, you can have it be safe when you're educated, aware, and choosing things that are, first you want to do it from baby steps and then work it up. So you don't want to go from something, for example, like vanilla sex, to something extreme where you've got gags, you've got ropes, you're hanging from something, you've got fire involved, you've got 45 different things involved. So break it in a little bit at a time. Okay? So we have some pretty cool break notifications going on my show today. Instead of having minutes to the actual break, we're having minutes to sex here. So definitely join us in the chat room, because apparently we're going to be getting it on here, which is pretty awesome. I love that. So remember, safe sex, you can have a lot of crazy fun play, even if it's fetish play or extreme play. You can have it in a safe way when you know what you're doing. So I realize this is like a level of safe sex that you might not have been thinking about, where if you really want to talk about how to avoid STDs and STIs and awareness on that, I've done several shows on that, and I may do some more again in the future, but this is safe on the level of, hey, we could go from subtle areas to extreme areas, and how do we do this in a safe way? And how else do we have safe sex from a place of awareness, where you're getting into situations, especially these days, we are getting into places where people are walking in and having sex with complete strangers who they've never even met. They might have had a swipe on Tinder and went, yes, I'm showing up at the house, never met them, let's go. That can be leading into a dangerous situation. Not just dangerous sex, because you don't know this person, you don't know their sexual history, you don't even know what they're into for real, like they could tell you anything. These are not necessarily safe situations, so use your awareness. And just because the person might have a great-looking face or great-looking tits or a great ass or like a penis that goes on forever, it doesn't mean that it's safe. I know you think that 10-inch penis is safe, but it doesn't mean it's safe just because it's 10 inches, girls and guys. Just saying, okay? And just because the boobs are like, a 36 quadruple E doesn't mean that that woman's going to be safe for you. She could be dangerous. In fact, she could take you down into her dungeon and tie you up, and you just were going over there for some cuddles. But you got to know what's going on. So being aware and being willing to be aware of everything can have you be aware of energies that you might not have even tapped into before. So if you're willing to be aware of things like BDSM, if you're willing to be aware of extreme situations with sex, and if you're willing to be aware of the violence that sometimes occurs, if you're willing to be aware of all of it, you can pick up on the energy of it so that you don't end up in situations that you don't want to be in. And you can also walk into situations that you would like to be in, because maybe you would like to be tied up with a lovely rope. You're like, oh, that person has a little edge of something there. I can sense that. And when you're willing to be aware of it, you can sense it, and then those conversations become a lot easier. It's not like going to somebody who's totally vanilla and going, oh, I'd really like you to put on a gimp suit and tie me up with that, amazing rope over there, that Japanese silky rope. And they're like, what? I don't do that. I just do missionary. That's it. But if you're willing to be aware of the kinky side, the crazy side, and all of it, you can pick the partners that are more fun for you, that are so-called safe for you, because you can have those conversations and that communication as well. And safe also is where you are able to be vulnerable. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, though, after the next commercial break. So you are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is The Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada, 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Hello, everybody, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone, where we have been talking about safe sex versus dangerous sex and my interpretation of what those things are. And one of my interpretations of safe sex is where the safest sex is where you're being aware and where you know that it's okay to be vulnerable. That's some safe sex. So whether you've got a condom on or not, are you able to be vulnerable? Are you able to trust that you know what you know about your partner? Are you able to just be present? And are you able to hang out with this person and not be afraid of what you're going to say or what you're going to do? Or, check your energy. Where's it at? Are you nervous all the time? Are you nervous in a way that's like you're excited because you're like, whoa, this person expands my universe? Are you nervous in a way that has you going, oh my God, I don't know what could happen to me. This is kind of freaky. I'm kind of afraid. I don't know who this, and you kind of go into a tumbleweed of sort of fear where, if you're having fear, definitely ask some questions like, what am I aware of here? And I tell you this because I landed myself in a relationship for many years, and my initial response was fear. And my other awareness was, I'm getting a child out of this. So I knew I was going to have a child with this person, even though they scared the bejeebies out of me. And I didn't ask more questions. That was my thing, is I was like, okay, this child wants to come through. Okay, I'll do this. And so about 2 years into the relationship, I had the child. And this relationship, where in the 2 years prior to this child being born, 2.5 years, I'd had multiple breakups with this person, but I kept on getting you're going to have a kid with this person. I'm like, what? I don't even like this person. And I swear it was, my daughter has some kind of crazy potency that she just needed to come in. And so she was going to make it happen. And so she did. And for whatever that, I don't have to look at the whys or the whatever. What I do know is that I know that she definitely pushed that relationship to exist so that she could be born who she is, how she is, with all the genetic whatever combinations that were required for her to exist, and for everything else that occurred after that. So pretty potent, magical being, I have to say. And so I followed that because I also had a weird thing that I felt very dedicated to that energy of the person coming in. So I was like, okay. And for the lack of sex that I was choosing then, even, which was like maybe sex once a month or once every few months, it was even mind-blowing that I even had her at that rate. So she really wanted to come through, I tell you that much. And I'm glad she did. And so sometimes, even when you don't feel safe, you might have some awareness. So definitely ask more questions regardless. And some of the questions I could have asked that I didn't ask were, hey, baby, would you be able to come through with a different, biological father? Would you be able to come through with different DNA combinations? Do you require this person's body to be your dad? I didn't ask those questions. I didn't really know those questions at the time. All I knew was there's a person and they're pushing to come through, so I'm just going to go for it. So definitely ask more questions. And if you need more questions, if you're like, I'm kind of in that situation and I don't have any questions to ask, I don't know what to ask, and I don't know what kind of awareness I'm looking for, again, feel free to contact me. I will give you 5 minutes of my time. So if you do message me on via my website at milicajelenic.com, or you can message me through Facebook or Instagram, and let me know that that's what you're messaging me about, that you'd like 5 minutes of my time, and I will send you a link to set up a schedule so that you can schedule 5 minutes with me, and that would be my gift to you. So definitely ask more questions, and that's one of the ways to have the greatest, safest sex that you possibly can is, again, your awareness. So your body is incredibly intelligent. I don't know if you know this, but your body is a freaking genius. And your body will know so many things that your so-called intelligence might try and figure out and try and get logical with, but your body and your knowing are far, far beyond that. They're like light years ahead of that. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek, so I might have a lot of Star Trek references. So light years ahead of your brain trying to compute things. And so if you ask your body some smart questions like, body, if I have sex with this body, if I have penetrative sex or oral sex with this other body, whatever partner you're considering, will I get an STD? And your body will be like, hell yeah, you will. And you're like, sweet, thank you for that. Thank you for that information. You're such a genius. And your body might be like, hell no, you're good. And cool, listen to what your body's telling you, because your body knows stuff, and you can ask your body direct questions. You can use muscle testing as a response for that as well, where your body will be, some bodies will be pulled towards something as a yes, some bodies will be pulled back for a yes. So just practicing knowing what your yeses and nos are for your body. Some people go to the side, some people do circles. There are ways that you can watch muscle testing be done so that you can practice it. Maybe if I have time, I'll put a video up on YouTube so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And bodies know. So trust your body, and you might just get like a full-on information, like scream in your hearing zone, as in your ears. You might hear it there. You might hear it like energetically. It's kind of like a sound helmet around your head. I don't know how else to describe it. There's like sometimes this information that floats like a sound helmet, and you can just hear the information in there. So, or at least that's how I get it in this world. I don't know about you guys, but I got this kind of sound helmet thing that goes on. So ask a lot of questions. Ask about the kindness of that body. Ask about, the kind of relationship that you're looking for. Is that person's body a match for that? Is that person's choices are a match to the choices that would contribute to the relationship you're looking for? So, for example, if the person you're with is choosing to live on the street in a gutter and have basically doesn't bathe, and they live in occasionally might live in a vehicle if somebody invites them in there, eats whatever they can find, and that's fine. Like, that's just an option of a choice. And I do actually know a few people who have lived that way, and then they've chosen different. And so if that's what you're choosing, if that's what a person's choosing, and you have the illusion that they're going to be choosing a life that's like, oh no, they really want to be a world-class traveler. I know what I see. Like, that's what they are. Like, don't delude yourself. That's not who they are right then. And even though sometimes you can perceive the future of where they would like to be real about who you're with at that moment. Be willing to perceive their possibilities of what they may choose in the future, but that doesn't mean they will choose in the future. And you absolutely have to be willing to be safe with the person that you're with in that moment. If you think this guy's a jackass right now, or this woman's a total biatch, but I have faith and hope that they're going to turn into a kind, generous, loving person, because all you can see are fairies and joy in the world, which is, hey, that's the capacity. And there's also crap that you can see too, if you're willing to. So when you're willing to see who the person is for real, then you can be in a relationship that's safe for you, because you're not deluding yourself. And then you're telling yourself, as soon as you're telling yourself the truth and you're willing to be in truth with yourself, you're willing to be vulnerable enough to see what's true, and you're willing to trust you're willing to have all these different qualities of like feeling confident in what you know, then if you have all of that in a relationship, then whatever they're choosing, you'll know exactly if their choices work for you or not. So you got to check on that too. Like, are their choices contributing to you feeling safe? They could even be having a lifestyle that's like selling drugs, and they're putting you in situations that are maybe illegal and could land you in jail or something. I say that because I picked up a woman who was a hitchhiker a week or two ago, and that was her situation. Was really wild, and she was really struggling like her whole life. She was making choices that always put her back into either jail or into a hole or whatever. But it was very interesting because she clearly was not choosing different, and she clearly didn't want to see anything else. Because I, in a 45-minute drive, I offered her in little sneaky snippet ways to see something different, and there was no way she was only going to choose sadness, sorrow, and struggle. And so in 45 minutes I knew that about that person, that she was only choosing sadness, sorrow, and struggle. Now I could have deluded myself and went, wow, what an amazing soul. She has so much potential, which she absolutely does, but is she going to choose it in this 10 seconds? No. So I didn't delude myself on that one. I didn't try and rescue her. I was just really curious about what kind of change could I create with somebody who's hitchhiking in 45 minutes? What could I create with them? So yeah, just have awareness, guys. Be really, truly aware. And I'm running past my break right now. So I just want to remind you that you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we're going to have our last commercial break.
Many of us have created a lot of limitations around sex and what we are willing to choose. What else is possible beyond what we have already seen, heard, or thought of? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual revolution, taking the taboo out of all aspects of sex, sexuality, and copulation by tuning in to the Pleasure Zone radio show with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bar session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is The Pleasure Zone with body whisperer Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. Call 815-880-8255. That's TALK. Or Canada, 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email at milicajelenic.com. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. We're in our last segment of tonight's show, and we're going to just look at some things. I just want to kind of recap for you guys in case you were missing the first part of the show. So one of the first things I talked about was awareness is key for safe sex. And in so many ways, I gave you a little history of myself too about having to happen up, landing into a situation where my body was violated, although I had full awareness that wasn't a good situation to be in at the time. I followed through on it anyway, even though it wasn't the best situation to be in. So trusting your knowing is number one. Part of awareness is knowing, trusting your knowing, and trusting what you know over anybody else's knowing, and trusting what you know about you, trusting what you know about the person that you're with. And part of it, too, is the willingness to just if you feel like you can be vulnerable in front of your partner, where you're letting it all hang out, where you can be totally you and just not feel judged and not feel like you're judging the other person, that vulnerability is an amazing thing for having safe sex, because you be then willing to be fully and completely open with your partner about what's going on. And if something's going on with your body, you can talk about it. If not, then if you don't have that kind of communication going on, then you might want to look at what is it that's stopping you from being vulnerable with your partner. And sometimes there might be a fear of them leaving. There might be other things involved. So just know that. It doesn't mean you have to resolve it right away, but know that about you and then work through it for sure. So some other elements of safe sex, like I said, are just not about taking care of the STD area, but we talked a little bit about kink as well. And how do you have safe sex in the kink world, where there are things like being tied up involved, gags going on, different things like fire pleasure and ice pleasure and different temperature play that can occur, whips, chains. Sometimes there's what looks like violence to bodies. So that's something to both be with a professional who knows what they're doing, so that you can learn from them, so that you can learn exactly like, how do you tie these beautiful knots without having somebody die? You don't need to have your pleasure zone explode and then you end up killing somebody. That's not required. You can step into this. So you can step into that sort of play step by step. You can start gentle and move to the extremes of whatever area you like. We also talked a bit about penetration levels and how really deep penetration, for example, like deep anal penetration without any lubrication can be quite painful. It can cause issues in the body, so lubrication all the way. Penetration and being aware of how deeply you're penetrating, things like anuses, vaginas, and mouths. You don't want to be extreme or hurtful. Even when your partner might be asking for more, try and be even more aware than they are of them, of their body. And I talked a little bit about that as well, being willing to be more aware than the rapists and murderers, and being willing to be aware of who they are, of what they're thinking, of where they might be, so that you don't land in those situations, so that you can be aware of them to avoid them. And I do know there's a whole lot of other things I could be talking about with safe sex too. I'm just following the energy tonight, so this conversation may be continued at another time. So dangerous sex is a lot of the things that I see with going on right now are people who are doing online dating, like Tinderizing, and picking a partner, and they've never even met them. They hardly even know their name. They've never had a conversation. They're jumping into bed with no sexual history. They're not even using any protection. They're not even going for safety when it comes to social media things, where they might be being filmed or recorded in some way, then blackmailed for it. Like, there's so many levels of danger that's going on when it comes to these dating apps, especially, or just random hookups where people are not getting to know the person at all, or even have anything to go on, like where you live, where are you from. It's good to know at least something about a person, and trust your knowing, because it is key, and your awareness is part of that. So I want to thank all you guys for listening. I'm not sure what next week's Pleasure Zone is going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be great and fun. So until then, I'd like you to all stay tuned in and turned on. Until next week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to The Pleasure Zone. Milica Jelenic will return next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.